So hi, I am Rosan Alginhao from IT2103. So welcome to my channel. So first, we've assigned to do the summary of a chapter 11, which is we have to discuss what it's all about, what is chapter 11 all about. So chapter 11 is build a small network. That is the title of it. So the first thing is in order to meet user requirements, even small network requires planning and design. So the planning ensures that all requirement cost factors and deployment options are given due to consideration. An important part of a network design is reliability, scalability, and availability. So from this chapter, we've discussed what is the meaning of the reliability, scalability, and the availability. So, from the supporting and growing a small network requires being familiar with the protocols and the network application running over the network. So, the protocol analyzers enables a network professionals to quickly compile statistical information about the traffic flows on the network. So the information gathered by the protocol analyzer is evaluated based on the source and the destination of the traffic, as well as the type of the traffic being sent. So the analysis can be used by a network technician to make decisions on how to manage the traffic more efficiently. Common network protocols include the DNS, Telnet, SMTP, POP, DHCP, HTTP, and FTP. So from this HTTP etc. We've already know what is the meaning of that in one by one. So the next one is it is necessarily to consider security threats and vulnerabilities when planning a network implementation. So from this chapter, we've already discussed the security threats, the different security threats and vulnerabilities. So when planning a network implementation, all network devices must be secured. So this includes the router, the switches, the end user, the devices, and the even security devices. So a network needs to be protected from the malicious software such as the viruses, the Trojan horse, and the worms. Antivirus software can detect most viruses and many Trojan horse applications and prevent them to spreading in the network. So from this stanza, we've already know what is the meaning of what viruses uh, means of the Trojan horse, worms, antivirus, like Trojan horse and the worms. So from the Trojan horse application and prevent them from spreading in the network, the most effective way to mitigate a worm attack is to download the security updates from the operating system vendor and patch all vulnerable system. So a network must also be protected from a network attack. So the network attacks can be classified into three major categories. So the three major categories was the reconnaissance, access attacks, and the denials of service attack. So there are several ways to protect the network from attacks. So the first one is the authentication or the authorization and accounting or the AAA or the AAA. So the network security services provide the primary framework to set up access control on a network device, which is the AAA is a way to control who is permitted to access to the network authenticate. What they can do while they're authorized and to watch the actions they perform while assessing the network accounting. So the second one is firewall is one of the most effectively security tools available for protecting internal network users. So from external threats, a firewall resides between two or more networks and controls the traffic between them and also helps prevent unauthorized access. So, to protect network devices, it is important to use a strong password. Also, when accessing network devices remotely, it is highly recommended to enable SSH instead of unsecured telnet. So, after the network has been implemented, a network administrator must be able to monitor and maintain network connectivity. So, there are several commands available toward this end. So, for testing network connectivity to local and remote destinations, so the command such as ping, telnet, and the traceroute are commonly used. So, as the chapters 11 goes by, we have already discussed what is the meaning of the ping, telnet, and the traceroute. So, on Cisco iOS devices, the show version command can be used to verify troubleshoot some of the basic hardware and software components. So, used during the boot process to view information for all network interfaces on a router. The show IP interface command is used. The show IP interface brief can also be used to view a more abbreviated output than the show IP interface command. So the Cisco Discovery Protocol, or the CDP, is a Cisco proprietary protocol that runs as the data link layer to or more Cisco network devices, such as the routers that supports the different network layer protocols, can learn about each other even if layer 3 connectivity does not exist. So the Cisco iOS configuration files, such as the startup config or the running config, should be archived. These files can be saved to the text file or stored in a TFTP server. So some models of routers also have a USB port, and the file can be backed up to the USB drive if needed, and these files can be copied to the router and or switched from the TFTP server or USB drive. So after that, I have a few questions here, which is the first one is this: some routers and switches in a writing clauses malfunction after an air conditioning unit failed. So what type of threat does this situation describe? So that situation described as environmental. So why environmental? Because environmental threats is a temperature extremes, too hot or too cold, or humidity extremes, too wet or too dry. And then the next question is, which type of network threat is intended to prevent authorized users from accessing resources? So the answer for that question is the DOS attack, which is the DOS or the denial service attacks are intended to prevent legitimate users and devices from accessing network resources. Then the next question is, give at least 2 actions that can be taken to prevent a successful network attack on an email server account. So the first one is the never send the password through the network in a clear text. Then the next one is the limit the number of unsuccessful attempts to log in the server. So one of the most common types of SS attack uses a packet sniffer to yield user accounts and passwords that are transmitted as clear text. So repeated attempts to log in server to gain an authorized access constitute another type of access attack. So limiting the number of attempts to log into the server and using encrypted password will help prevent successful logins through these types of access attacks. So my last question is, what is the purpose of a network security authentication function? So the answer for that question is to require user to prove who they are. So the authentication and authorized and accounting are network services collectively known as the AAA. Authentication requires users to prove who they are. The authorization determines which resources the user can access. Accounting keeps track of the actions of the user. So I think that's all for this chapter 11. So thank you for watching.